Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the CDL podcast channel. In this episode today, going to be a pretty simple one. We're going to address some brief news involving, Methodz retirement, Florida roster changes. That's all we have as of now, but could be heating up. And we're going to talk about maybe a little bit of news from Activision regarding the next Call of Duty title or the release that could possibly be coming this year. And then we're just going to do basically a full podcast talking about the matches, the tournament, deep diving into a few matches, talking about some major points of the tournament, and then as we get to teams that are being eliminated, maybe talk about potential roster changes or teams we think should blow it up and maybe make a roster change or two or three or maybe four, just get rid of the whole team, squad wipe them. But we'll get into all of that. If you guys enjoy this one on YouTube, be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. If you're on the audio platforms, drop a follow, drop a 5-star review on there, and let's get right into it. Brock, how you doing today?
Ooh, Monday. Feeling pretty good, doing good. Some good coddles being watched this weekend. Yeah, let's get into it.
Yeah, I'm excited to get into it. I was able to catch actually more than I thought I was going to be able to because, like, randomly during the day, we were talking about like prize picks with my friends that I was with, and we were betting on like NBA games, like prize picks, games like that. And then they noticed that I like was making a ton of money on COD, and they were like, "Wait, let's do this." Like, a lot of my friends that I'm with like play COD, but like don't really watch competitively. Like they play games just not in that way. Like they're like, "Oh, we'll play Fortnite and stuff, Warzone stuff like that." And they were like, "Screw it, let's bet on this with you." And so we started to like watch a couple random COD matches, like when we were eating lunch and stuff, and we were just hitting everything. So prize picks. Shout out to Prize Picks. Come sponsor us. We'll be some great spokespeople for you. But I was farming cash. I felt good about the matches this weekend. I made a few $100 on Prize Picks, just farming the over unders.
Mm-hmm. You were farming, and one of our friends was not farming.
Yeah, one of our friends lost a couple hundred. I wasn't with him to give him advice, so that's probably why. But I was farming. I was feeling it. I refused to bet any unders. Every time I bet an under, it would lose, and it's not fun to watch when you're betting unders. So I was like, nope, I'm only picking people I think are going to hit the overs in certain matches.
Facts.
So I was able to catch a lot more than I thought I did. I basically caught like pretty much every match, all of Sunday, everything like that.
Yep.
It was a good tournament. It was entertaining.
It definitely was.
Then we got a couple other things to get into before we talk about the matches in the major. First thing, probably the story of the weekend, if you're excluding the matches, obviously, it was Zinni. Methodz announced his retirement, came out on stage at his home major in Boston, and addressed the crowd. He had his family there and everything. It was a good speech, and basically said, he's retiring, moving on to the content game. He did say the future is green, so I don't know what that meant. I don't know if that was just like hey, I'm going to the OpTic, I'm going to the green wall, I'm joining OpTic. That wouldn't be shocking at all if he joined OpTic as like a content creator or something. But Methodz retired, kind of shocking, I guess. Not insanely shocking from the fact that I would have thought it was coming soon with how much success he saw in the content game in that brief stint, but like still wild that like randomly another kind of legend of the scene who's been around forever just retired and he's gone.
I know the captain of the Boston Breach is, out of nowhere.
And it's not like he was like leaving either because he just like sucks. Like that's not the case.
No, he's still good.
Sometimes you see those pros where it's like at the end of their career, even like a guy like Hecz, who I love, all-time legend, like at the end of his career in MW, he was dropping 0.6s, and I don't know if it was because of lack of skill he had or just he just didn't care anymore. And he just wasn't trying. And like you kind of see people like, yeah, it's time, but like Zinni was still playing fine. He could have easily continued to be a starter in the league.
Definitely. I just, think he said his mind was on the content game ever since he got dropped for Ultra that year. So tough. He wants to.
You can't blame him. Can't blame him. And he probably talked to like Scump and everything, who's one of his best friends, and saw the level of stress get relieved from him since he hasn't been competing. And he was like, damn, I could use that. And maybe he didn't believe necessarily that his Boston team could win this year with the way they've been playing. And like at that point, if you're already on the fence and you don't think your team could win, maybe you're just like, sorry, but I'm just gonna relieve the stress from myself and just take this year off. And I feel like a lot of people are retiring because it's the first year of MW, and like we'll talk about this in a little bit, but we're gonna get a second year of MW, and if they're like, man, I hate this game, I just don't know if I can do it this year, they're probably like, I ain't gonna be able to do it next year either. It's the same game.
Yeah, definitely. So too much stress, probably.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. That could be the case. And as we go to like talk about Boston, we'll talk about like potential roster moves. We already know Beans is basically coming into the lineup, but We don't have to address it that much because we know Bean's an insanely talented player. He's coming in, but this isn't like a rumored roster move. It's basically like confirmed. But we can maybe talk about a little more when we get to the matches and get to Boston. Second piece, an actual roster change that happened. Major Maniac was dropped, not only bench, but he was dropped. He said he's an unrestricted free agent. Completely dropped from the Florida organization. Apparently, Brack is returning to the lineup, and they're also potentially looking at going after Dan Ghosty. I don't know if that would be for who. I know in the past he had played a flex, so that could be for a guy like Dave Patty. If they're bringing Brack in to be the main AR, could be for one of the subs because I'm sure he could play a sub as well. But I know he's done both, so apparently looking at Dan Ghosty to join the roster along with Brack, who's for sure coming back in apparently. So Florida making moves.
Yeah, that's making another move too, not just one, two.
Yeah, if it's just Brack coming in to replace Major Maniac, they're just going to go from bottom of the pack to bottom of the pack.
Yeah, they'll go from 10th to 9th.
And I might even say they'll go, what would they finished dead last this weekend. I guess they'll go from whatever they are, 10, 11. They might not move. They might go down one. Maybe they go up one. But
yeah,
let me tell you, it's not helping them crack into that top 8.
Yeah, definitely not. Something needs to change, but I don't know if they'll make 2 changes because that's, that org seems to do think whatever they want to do, not what's best for the players at the time. It seems like
they seem to get sometimes like too loyal to players in a way. Like they get involved in the relationship with the player and they like him, and it's like, yeah, we're gonna keep him forever, even though it's not working. And it's like, okay, time to move on. Like it's not working, and they just continue to stay involved, and they haven't been ever afraid to dip into challengers. So like, I do think a move to Dan Ghosty could be like the one thing that could catapult them. Like to being, I don't think a top team, but being better and more competitive. Because like every time they have dipped into challengers, like they found some decent talent. I mean, they found Neptune. He didn't end up being the best, but he's decent. The big ones, obviously, I wouldn't really consider him like a challengers player, but they dipped in and got Pharaoh when he was in challengers, and obviously like he had a history of success and everybody knew he was nasty. And he panned out for them, winning a couple events. They found Awakening, who obviously one of the better players in the league now. So Florida, history of dipping into challengers. Maybe they'll find Dan Ghosty and he can propel them to being a contending top 8 team.
Yeah, potentially.
I'd have to see him play though. I'm not convinced that Dan Ghosty is at the level of a Pharaoh or Awakening. I think he can be very good, but like, I mean, Pharaoh was like at his peak and all-time talent, and Awakening is a very, very, very high level talent.
Definitely not those guys, but he can bring something.
Yeah, something more than like a Havoc's gonna bring or Mr. Dave Patty, as much as you love him.
I haven't really watched too much Dave Patty in this game, unfortunately.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what they do. Last thing, Activision, kind of a weird cryptic news thing here. We don't exactly know what to say because we don't exactly know what it means yet. But they said today that there's a full annual premium release in the Call of Duty franchise launching this fall. Basically, like the quote from like the blog or whatever it is says, across the Call of Duty franchise, our teams are working to amplify the success of the fourth quarter with 2023 plans, including even more engaging live services across platforms and the next full annual premium release in the Blockbuster series, referring to Call of Duty. This is from Charlie Intel, and then they replied and said this is not a Treyarch game. Bloomberg reported last year that this fall's title would be an expansion to MW2 from Sledgehammer Games. I'm not sure if that's a typo. If Sledge would be the studio like expanding on it, or if he meant to type Infinity Ward and like they just mistyped it.
Yeah, maybe.
But Activision keeps calling this fall's release a full premium annual release. Interesting, right? Because when I saw that before I saw the not a Treyarch game, I was like, please, dear God, tell me they saw how bad this game is, and they said Treyarch's gonna go a year earlier. But that doesn't seem to be the case. So we can rule that out. So it sounds like maybe this means that they're going to make us pay $70 for like the expansion of maps and everything, which kind of an L in my opinion.
Yeah, I would definitely think so, since they need to make their money every year from the games.
Yeah, they're missing that $1 billion that they get from the new release.
Yep.
But I mean, talk about an L in a world where or a video game world, I should say, where we're going to more and more and more studios making a free to play game. Obviously, with Fortnite and all these different battle royales and Valorant and forever League of Legends, like all these like top tier titles have been free to play. Like we have all these, and it seems like it's going more and more that way. Like every time a game comes out, it seems like well, that one's free to play. Like, I'll try it out. And I know for a fact it's helped me try more games because there's a lot of games I want to pay for. I know it's done that for you too.
Yeah, I ain't trying to pay for those games.
Like, a lot of random games, and I'm like, yeah, I want to try it, but I don't really want to pay 60, 70 bucks, whatever it would be for it, even like 30 bucks. I don't really want to because I know I won't play it that much. But if it's free, I'll give it a crack here and there. And you know what Call of Duty said? They said, no, all these people are having success with free to play. We're going to make you pay twice.
We're into the opposite.
Yeah, so I don't exactly know that I feel great about that. I feel like everybody paying you a total of $1 billion and then all your microtransaction billions that you get should maybe be enough, but I guess they don't agree with us.
Money hungry. They need the more money.
I guess they really do need their more money, I guess. Let's talk about the major now. We have about 10 minutes on news. Let's spend the next, half an hour to hour, however long we're going to spend, talking about the matches. We don't need to spend like a terrible amount of time on like a losers round 1 match between like I don't know, like a Gorillas and a Legion or something. But we're going to basically go round by round, maybe winners round 1 down to a couple losers rounds, back up to winners. Just kind of go round by round, highlight some matches. First one, at the top of the winners round, we're not really going in order of the matches as they happen, but top of the winners round, OpTic versus LA Thieves, was honestly a pretty good match to kick off. Winners round, obviously, no, it wasn't the first match that happened, but we're just going in order of how the bracket is. But OpTic versus Thieves, Dashy with a heroic series for them. Hook kind of had a struggle bus series here. Illy was fine, Shotzi's fine, but Dashy was really putting the team on his back, really performed well in the searches.
Yeah, last search, game 5, 13-4.
Yeah, and in the first search when they won 6-1, he was 8-3 also.
Yeah, that boy's frying.
Yeah, I thought it was nice to see them win a hardpoint too, because LA Thieves did look pretty good in hardpoint, and they played a tight control. And we found out later on in their losers run that LA Thieves might have been the best control team, or was the best control team at the event. And even in that map 4 hardpoint, though, Dashy 29-21. Illy had a pretty good series, and overall maybe a little bit shakier of a weekend for Illy. He didn't necessarily have the best weekend, especially when you compare it to his season so far online and everything. He's been very good over this split, but and this one, not necessarily the best weekend for him, but a good way to get on the board. And this made me, have faith that OpTic was gonna potentially be able to pull out some magic this weekend, and they had a chance to.
Yeah, definitely. Illy came back down to earth a little bit, doing his normal 0.9, I would say.
Yeah, and like overall on the weekend, I'm looking at it here. Yeah, Illy ended up having a 0.83 on the weekend. So Shotzi was at a 1. Where's Dashy here?
A little bit lower, but
yeah, and Dashy was overall at a 1.06. But I don't know. I think it was a good series for OpTic to kick off. I was a little bit worried after the map 1 that they get smoked, because I didn't know that LA Thieves was going to look so good in certain respawns on the weekend, but it kind of played out how I would expect it, honestly, because like I've never thought of this Thieves team as a great search team, and this OpTic team I think has potential to be like the best search team in the game with this roster, or right up there. So them winning 2 searches wasn't shocking to me, but sent LA Thieves to the losers bracket.
Yep.
On the other hand, a shocking match to me for the result was Rocker versus Subliners. I definitely thought Rocker had a chance to win, but I really thought that Subliners definitely had the upper hand in this one, and more likely than not, we're going to win. And they were not able to pull it out. They lost in a map 5 to Minnesota.
Yeah. Bance is going crazy.
Yeah, I mean, Bance the whole weekend was going crazy. It wasn't just this match. Like, Bance had a great weekend.
It was that Cold War Bance when they won it.
Yeah, he was just. I mean, you go to the overall KD leaderboard, and you got Cellium, Hydra, Octane, Awakening, and then in 5th, Bance. Like, I haven't seen a performance like that. We've seen good performances out of Bance, but not as much as we have like in the slaying department as we did this weekend.
Definitely. Oldest up in the league too.
Yeah, now that Scump's out of there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, though? It's like we've seen Bance have great performances, but they're 0.95s where he's just doing all the great dirty work.
Yeah.
But this was more of a performance of like he wasn't not like doing the dirty work. I mean, he still was, but like he was also slaying out, making big plays, like leading the team in slaying. which was good to see. A little throwback performance in this series. He led the lobby in damage, maybe unexpected, and kind of helped to drag his team through. Went 9-7 in that final map 5. I think it's worth noting though, Afro stats might not show it, 0.98, but he was moving in the series as well. Really opening things up, especially in search and destroy. He had 11 in both searches and was just like first blood. I think it was a series where he had like 6 first bloods in map 5.
Yeah, it was game 5.
Yeah. And he had 6 first bloods, like something absurd like that. He was moving. I know New York had the struggles with their flight and they were sleeping in the airport and all that struggles, but still, it's a big thing to get on the board for Minnesota.
Definitely. I definitely thought Bloodliners had this, not gonna lie, in the bag.
Yeah, I think maybe some of the travel issues could have affected them, but still, you got to get it done. Got to be able to win regardless. But like you said, thought Subliners had in the bag, and I was all of a sudden shocked. And then all of a sudden, I was looking at it like, wow, my OpTic pick might be looking pretty good to win it all because they now avoid Subliners, who maybe are the best team in the game. They get to play Minnesota. Obviously, we'll talk about them a little bit. Did not pan out that way for OpTic, but Minnesota was not just a fluke win here. They overall had a very good weekend. I mean, they were up 5-3 with a chance to go to grand finals and blew it. So they were right there this weekend.
It was so close. It was kind of ice up. Unlucky.
Yeah. Next match, though, Ultra versus Gorillas in that round 1. A pretty boring match, for being honest. This is probably the snoozer of the first round, in my opinion.
Yeah, kind of knew what we were getting. These two teams matched against each other.
In the one map they won, LAG, was the Albagra control, where they honestly kind of got a little bit fried, but ended up just able to pull it out. But I mean, in the hard points, it just really wasn't that close. Just kind of 2 blowouts, and Toronto won a search, which is like basically we kind of thought that LAG probably would have had Neslo to win this, or just come out and fry their hard points how they had been, but they didn't even look like they were in the same class.
Yeah. Especially game 1. I shout out Zuma for shout out Salt for breaking Zuma's 4-23 record.
Yeah, at one point he was 4-24. Yep. He didn't finish the map though. I don't know if we can count it because he didn't finish the map. He did drop a 0.35 in map 1 though, and 0.35 is probably better than it should have been though, huh? Because he was like 4-24, 4-25 at one point. And he ended up like finishing like 5-1 or 5-2.
Yeah, he was a 4-24, popped 3-piece Kitchen Hill.
Yeah.
Hotel.
Yeah, like the point, as weird as that sounds, 0.35 might be like deceivingly good for how he played that map.
Yeah,
as wild as that sounds, but this was just kind of a dominating series, and I would say I'm ready to move on from it because like it's what we expected. Scrappy came out and dominated them. This team, Toronto, is just a lot better than LAG.
Better and more talented.
Yeah, I mean, could be time for another LAG roster change. I just don't know that even with this weekend and the talent they've potentially shown, I don't know that I can ever see them getting to the point where they can compete with Toronto.
I just don't know who they would pick up or do.
Yeah, I mean, there's like challengers players, but like I don't really know that their sub duo is the issue. I like the talent of Exceed in them. I don't know. I feel like there's a flex player you could find in challengers that could replace Assault. Like the upside is just not really there.
And Ghosty?
Yeah, potentially, but I guess Florida might snatch him up first.
Yeah. Let's go to the next one.
Yeah, Boston Breach versus Atlanta Faze. This one is almost deceivingly close with the 3-2. It was close early on, but those final 2 maps in this series were brutal. Like Faze destroyed Boston in those final 2 maps.
Oh yeah, you're not wrong. I don't think I actually watched this one. To be
it was like Boston came out and you could tell like feeding off the energy of the crowd. Nero was piecing, Wake was piecing. They just like came out and they dominated this map 1. Like Cellium, obviously you see had a 0.6. They just kind of came out and just took it to them in the map 1. And then in the search and destroy, they got kind of rolled. 6-2. Abezy was blood and Cellium was piecing. It was a rough map. And then it was a close control. They win it, and I'm like, okay. Like I was feeling good about my Boston pick because obviously I picked Boston to win this one like a crazy upset at home. 32-16 from Wake in game 3. I'm like, okay, Boston has 2 cracks to close this out. They got destroyed. Like 250 to 105 is being generous for how much they probably should have got 100 point club, but just like barely didn't. And then they got 6-0'd in map 5.
Jesus,
like
that boy
the series
game 4.
Yeah, This series, like, yeah, I mean, technically KD wise had a worse performance than Assault did for
Yeah.
LAG, but like this series looks like a 3-2, like super close, but overall, like it seemed like it was early tournament jitters for Faze maybe, and it was a little bit close, and then all of a sudden they just were like, yeah, okay, time to turn on the gas, and then they just destroyed them. They weren't even competitive at 4 and 5.
Yeah. But this is Boston, They can't be the top teams or close out the games.
Yeah, and now we got a roster change to boot. But Slasher had a nice solid 10-1 map 5, icing up.
Yes, sir. He does.
Yeah. Head down to losers round 1 though. Teams get eliminated. We can talk about what their future looks like. First match that we want to talk about in losers being LA Thieves versus Florida. Thieves 3-0'd them. Pretty simple match, not shocking to me.
Pretty
I don't
quick.
think you're shocked. I don't think
Not
anybody
shocked.
is shocked. Florida subs in Dave Patty for Brack. They don't get better at hardpoint. They don't get better at search. So that experiment should be over.
Yeah.
Granted, I do
should.
think LA Thieves is a lot better team, but I don't think it makes a difference. I think Florida is just not a good team, regardless of who they're playing.
Yeah, whoever they put in is not working out.
And now, obviously, the roster change is happening. We don't have to talk about their roster change like we might with other teams because we already talked about it in the opener. But I'm hoping to at least see something like a multi-person change like we talked about, because like just swapping in a 1-for-1 back in for Major Maniacs can do nothing for this team. Like you gotta go with something bold.
Yeah. On
the side of LA Thieves though,
blow it up.
Yeah, blow it up. Blow it up. I mean, I'm okay with blowing it up. I don't actually think I don't think there's anybody even safe. Like, to be honest, if you can get like players you really liked, I'd maybe be considering to get rid of Vickle. But like with the situation they're in, how they pay low salaries, typically, and aren't probably ever going to get like big time players. I don't absolutely hate them just keeping Vickle, since they probably have him under team control for 2 years. Or if he does start to pop, they have like a nice foundation for next year. But I wouldn't be opposed to just picking up 4 players if they wanted, because I mean, screw it. What do you got to lose?
Yeah, for real.
And then LA Thieves, we'll talk about them more as we go on, but like this was the start of their losers bracket run. Had a pretty historic run, especially in control through the losers bracket. But this was the start of it right here, and it was a good catalyst. I feel like them going down and playing Florida after a tight loss to OpTic is good, because it was kind of like a good launching pad for the rest of the tournament.
Yeah, definitely woke up to the OpTic series. Oh, can't lose anymore.
And then the London boys got a little unlucky. They thought they were going to have a pretty winnable match against Minnesota coming up, and then Subliners gets knocked down there. They have to play the defending Major 1 champs. And this is pretty much this was just hey, we're better than you. We're just going to dominate you, never respawn. You can have the search. It's basically what this series was for the side of New York.
Hey, we're just running at you. Good luck.
Yeah, like they basically, it seemed like they went into the series not even thinking about search and destroy, and they're like, we're just better than you. We're going to run you down in the respawns and just beat you 3-1. When we'll take the loss in search. If we win it, cool. If we don't, we know we're going to beat you. And that's basically what happened in the series. It was dominating. Don't think we talk about New York too much, because we'll talk about them like when they get eliminated a little bit. But London, this got to be another blow it up team, right? Did you hear that? That listening, they just like weren't even commenting. Paul maybe said 2 words. It was bad.
I didn't watch this one, but yeah, blow it up. Just get rid of them all. I'm done with these people.
The only one I'd say is like acceptable to keep. I mean, I'd be fine with Scraps selfishly, just because I like the personality. If they were good again, it'd be kind of fun. So like, I don't, for no reason other than selfishly that like I want to see Scraps content. Fine, you can keep him, but like Asim, I guess you can make an argument to keep him as well, because I do think on the right team he could be really good. But like Paul, I'm okay with Paul being gone. Nasty, I mean, if you're keeping Asim, I think you can only maybe keep 1 player on this team, so you kind of have to get rid of Nasty. If you want to keep Nasty, I guess, because he's young and he is from the UK and everything, they like that, I guess. Maybe you can keep Nasty, but it's time to blow it up for this team. I don't exactly know who it is, if they're going to dip into EU challengers and keep that theme going, but yeah, this team is... We knew this, but like this weekend confirmed it. They're not going anywhere. They will never be able to compete with teams of the caliber of New York with this roster this year.
Yeah, they're one and done about every tournament.
Maybe
blow it up.
Maybe they get a lucky win if they get to play a team that's also like in shambles to the tournament, or like a team that's in bad form, or just a lucky matchup. But can't see it doing much more than that.
Blow it up. Just get 4 challenger EU players. Just let them go. I'm done with this team.
Yeah. A couple more blow it up candidates play the next match. LAG versus Vegas. LAG takes them out 3-2. Really, really, really rough for Vegas because like there's one thing they have, it's their search and destroy.
Mm-hmm.
And they lose a map 5.
No ice.
And they even took a hard point. Like you told me Vegas is gonna come and take a hard point, and I'd be like, all right, they're winning that series. That's usually how you feel because they're gonna be able to win a couple searches, but not able to get the job done. The ARs, Temp and Clay, they really stepped it up. Oh, but the subs, Tej and Prolute, they really let them down the series. Lowest damage for each of them on the team, lowest kills, basically less engagements. I mean, like Tej overall had less engagements than Clay. So did Prolute. That just can't be a thing.
Yeah, they're moving slow.
Like, why just there's zero world where any team Clay is ever on, he should have the highest engagements. That just should not be a thing.
Well, it is a slow
boy
one,
was frying
but
though.
yeah,
He was frying.
He was.
But
hard points were pretty. The first hard point was pretty close too, and second one.
Yeah, is it time to blow it up for this team though?
As much I don't want to blow it up, but they might have to look for potentially someone else for one of the subs, I would say.
Here's what I'll say. My part in this is it should be super easy to blow it up. Like on paper, the way they've been performing, you should be like, yeah, blow it up, no doubt. But the one thing I would caution and be hesitant on for this team is Clay and Temp have got to stay, in my opinion. Like that's a very good AR duo. You need 2 good ARs in the way this game is right now. They got to stay. I think Tej almost has to stay as well. And like I can see a world where you say getting rid of TJ and Prolute is risky. Some people might be like, what are you talking about? But like TJ and Prolute are both fantastic search and destroy players. Like top tier search and destroy players. I mean, even when he was having a bad series, TJ was 10-7 in that map 2. I know Prolute was 4-10 in map 2, and what did he go? 2-6 in map 5, and TJ was 2-7. They all just basically got fried in that map 5. And you can't just take one map as a sample size. Like this team dominated this stage online in search and destroy. That's the one thing I would say is this team's formula is probably never, no matter what they make a roster change to, gonna be predicated around like winning respawns.
Yeah, I would say so.
But it is gonna be predicated probably around always search and destroy. So it's tough to get rid of like your 2 best search players, get rid of one of them or both.
Yeah.
My idea for this roster though, I think they do have to make a change. I think it's a 1-person change. I think he seems to be very good friends with TJ from playing together last year. I think Capsule comes in for Prolute.
Yep.
We know he's an excellent search and destroy player. I would argue he provides more slaying than Prolute in the respawns.
Yep.
Could help open up the map for Tej. So he gives you that slight boost in respawn, which like I think they're not terribly far off. Like they're usually pretty competitive, at least in respawns. He gives you that slight boost in slaying power and respawn and pace, while also being a fantastic search player. I don't know. I think it's worth a try, and I don't think he'd be the most expensive, and I think he'd be pretty willing to look at this team because, I mean, from what I see on Twitter and everything, he seems to be very good friends with Tej.
Yeah. I was thinking maybe it's for Prolute, maybe Asim if they can get him.
Yeah, that could be an interesting one too. You know, the connection with Clay, obviously from the subliners days in Cold War.
Yeah. But I don't know. That would work.
And he's a really good player too. The only thing that scares me with Asim is him and Tej are both prone to those random terrible games.
Yeah.
Which kind of gives you that same thing. And I think Cap would be a little bit less prone to that, but I'm also not opposed to that idea. I think that Asim idea is a really good one. I think that could really work. The only problem is that you run into a lot more barriers with that one, obviously, with having to pay for a transfer or make a trade or like get him released or whatever. With Capsule one, I don't think he's under contract long term for the Thieves. But also, he basically comes free.
Yeah, unless London just blow it up, really sell their players, then it'll be easy.
Yeah, that would be nice for them. But interesting dynamic here for Vegas as you're like towing the line of, do you want to blow up your team that was so amazing in search for a risk? But I think they should risk it because I just don't think this team's respawn upside is ever high enough to win. And I think if they added Cap, it could get like a little higher, that if they had that LAG Major 2 run from last year in search, they could maybe make some noise. Also, we don't really have to say much about LAG because we'll talk about them. We already basically talked about their weekend, but Arcitys, worth noting, did break the hardpoint kill record in map 1 in this series with 42.
That boy frying map 1.
Yeah, and I mean, we know Arcitys can do that, but it was good to see him have a nice game.
It sure was, honestly. Maybe MVP consideration.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Not. Let's go to next match. We got the last match of losers round 1. Boston versus Seattle. Boston was able to get it done 3-1 at their home major, eliminates Seattle, which the trend continues for Seattle, second place to last place. They just can never finish anything with any form of consistency. I think team might have been affected by the whole
Fred.
pred to OpTic stuff, but still can't really be an excuse. That boy accuracy had a 1.03. Sib actually had the worst KD on the team, but this series, I think the highlight of it has to be that map 4.
Mm-hmm.
The Albagra Fortress, which people were roasting Mac for this. People, if you outed yourself on the timeline saying that Mac like sucks or made like a stupid play on this one and just like told me you didn't know COD, because I mean, Mac in that situation, they get the wipe, they break the hill. It's one of the easiest hills to hold in terms of spawns. He knows they're probably spawning out. He calls in his crews, and on his view, there is nobody in the area, and he is dropping the cruise missile on 2 Boston players.
Yeah.
And I still don't know how. Nobody knows how. He basically dropped on. Even all the players from Boston were saying, like, yeah, we got lucky. Like, the game trolled him. He drops on 2 Boston players' heads, and he gets 2 kills on himself, and I think it was accuracy, or his teammate. Pretty sure it was accuracy.
Yes,
but like
so.
that was just crazy unlucky. Like, they probably should have won that map and forced the map 5. Granted, I think Boston probably wins the map 5, but still, like, people roasting Mac for like a terrible play there. That's a little ridiculous to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Unfortunate scenes for Mac.
The game screwed him over.
Yeah, basically. I don't really like to know how they got 2 pieces on team, but yeah, happens.
It was unreal. I still don't understand how it happened, but like, I mean, just Seattle's almost got to blow it up too at this point. Like, they're just not playing that well together. It's just not happening for them. And Search and Destroy especially.
I know they gotta get rid of some players not named Pred or Sid probably.
I just don't know where they go though, because like
they're kind of like stuck.
I don't know where they go, because like, you don't want to make long-term investments because you don't know what your roster can look like next year. You're probably losing Pred and Sib at the very least. You can find a guy out there maybe and take a chance for Mac, but I still strongly believe, and I probably will believe forever, I think Mac's a really good player.
He's definitely not bad.
I think his stats remind me of a lot like this is gonna sound weird. I'm not comparing him to this player, but like a Karma on the Dynasty. Like, Karma was consistently putting up stats in the 0.9, like 0.95 range, basically consistently, and never having like crazy overall tournaments or series, besides one here and there where he'd pop off. But like, he's just doing everything in terms of the dirty work, because he has Pred and Sib, very similar to like a Scump and Formal. They're just running around, and their main focus is just kill everything.
Yep.
And like, that's kind of what Scump and Formal would do, and Karma was just like left to pick up the pieces and do all the dirty work while his teammates killed everything. And like, there aren't that many kills left on the map, where like, that's kind of feels like the same thing for Mac. Like, he is left being a complete gap filler, and he's a super unselfish player, so he's just doing it all, gap filling, and just doing his job, doing the dirty work, while Pred and Sib go kill everything. So like, of course his stats are never going to look amazing, because he's got 2 of the best slayers just running around getting all the kills. I think Mac's really good.
I also think Mac's above average from what you could get. I don't know who would you even get.
That's the thing. Like, in order to replace somebody, you have to have somebody that's better. And like, I just don't know if there's an obvious choice that's better than Mac out there. Like, I think skill-wise, there's choices better than accuracy, but I also think like with these players, they can get a little like chicken with their head cut off sometimes. I think accuracy does a really good job of organizing them.
Yeah.
It's like, yes, I do think that a change could easily be made and probably should be made, but man, it feels weird to drop Mac. And even accuracy, like it's just gonna be weird if they do it.
Yeah, only if they pack a punch in the off season for Arcitys, maybe.
Should have done that. Yeah, should have done that this off season, this past one.
Yeah.
And then we might be talking about a different story.
They're kind of just stuck if they're gonna keep their teams. Have to rely on the Kobe Shaq to literally just win them games. Well, actually, Mac did the dirty work.
Yeah, you made the Arcitys point. I'll also argue, like, hey, I mean, could reach out to Slasher too. Yeah, obviously would have taken the Faze offer if he got it, but like, if you'd reach out to him early enough, could have reached out to Slasher too.
Yeah, definitely.
Man, it'd be nice if they would have actually done anything for Octane. Could have kept Octane on this roster.
Oh man, just imagine. Yeah.
That team would be nasty. But yeah,
Mhm.
moving on from Seattle, it could be a potential blow up candidate, but it is an interesting one because there's no obvious, clear, terrible players. We obviously know the two guys that aren't getting dropped. That's Civ and Pred, but you can make arguments for both Accuracy and Mac that they should stay, and that's how this team just goes. They go second to 12th, but I think this time might be different just because of the whole roster drama.
Just shenanigans. Yep.
Yeah. Up on the winners side, not a whole lot to talk about with the OpTic versus Minnesota series, to be honest, unless you really want to, because I mean, it was just overall a pretty dominant series from Rocker, like a pretty boring series.
Yeah.
They bullied them pretty hard in the map 1x60 and handled them in the control and the search as well.
Yep.
Not a whole lot. And OpTic doesn't get eliminated.
Much. Yeah.
I
don't
mean,
got much to say in this.
Yeah, look at the series. Dashy was the best in the team with a .89. Illy had a .5. Hook had a .7. Shots had a .6. Everybody else on the side. Afro and Bansa subduo on Minnesota had 1.6s.
Yeah.
It was just dominant series, and shout out to Rocker. They're in form. They played insane in this match.
They're coming to life.
This was the day that we were like kind of gonna breeze by, to be honest, overall, because it was like the 3-0 day. It was all 5 matches were 3-0.
The 3-0 cheese.
Yeah, I mean we're gonna bounce back and forth between like the winners round 2 and the elimination round 2 here, but Ultra versus Faze in winners round 2. Faze also just absolutely dominated this series. This was like a statement series to me because like it seemed like Scrappy was just like talking. He was probably going to talk wild about Faze, and they said, "Now we're going to beat you by 100 in hardpoint, 6-1 you in search, and 3-0 you on control." This was dominant. I mean, this dude.
That's the Faze we know.
Yeah, this dude Cellium 1.65, Abezy 1.58. You know, Slasher the casual 1.3 for the third worst KD on his team in the series. You know, Simp had a 1.1, easily the worst on his team. That's unreal. But this series, like, if you're watching it, you'll understand why we don't have much to say on it, because like it literally just, it wasn't, I wouldn't even consider it a series. This was an absolute domination. This was Faze playing some ranked play, kids.
Literally, Faze just said, "Yep, we're Faze. You're trying to at the end of the day."
Yeah, which I'm still pissed at myself. I obviously picked OpTic to win this event, and you know, I said the entire time before this stage and like leading up, I was like, I have a feeling this is the one that Faze finally bounced back and they win it. And of course, I was completely right if I would have just stuck with my guns, and I didn't.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's what you get for not sticking.
We should have picked Faze, since Slasher is basically the king of Major 2s for the last 2 years now.
and I had a feeling it was going to happen, and I just didn't do it. I'm stupid.
Go with the gut.
Yeah. All right. Then in elimination round 2, another 3-0, LA Thieves over New York. This one was kind of surprising, obviously, because once again, Thieves struggling a little more, and New York obviously been amazing this year up to this point. But kind of a nice series from Mr. Jaraza.
Graza.
This was obviously, though, a better series than the other 3-0s. Like, maps very tight, a 4-point hard point, a 6-4 search, and a 3-2 on hotel control. Slaying wise, you know, basically outslayed were the Thieves in map 1, but they were able to, you know, use that good old teamwork they have and when the map Draza popped off.
Baby.
Draza popped off in the map 2 and the map 3 as well. And we mentioned this in every series. It was kind of the theme of their losers run. Envoy was just picking up all the big kills, it seemed like.
Yep.
And every map, it was like Envoy might not have been playing the best. He's maybe -5, but like he'd pop up with a random 2-piece that'd be like, you know, somebody's going to look at this map and see that Envoy had a .95 and think he just had an average game. But like literally he had the game winning kills like in multiple times we saw it.
That was him the whole weekend.
Yeah. I mean, for the side of New York, who we're talking about with the loser here, we like to talk about maybe the loser of the series a little more because they're the one getting eliminated. Our last chance to talk about them. I really don't have much. I think this was just a culmination of some steam kind of running out because they had been so good for so long so far this year. Also, the travel day issues that they had mentioned, they had like they were in the airport for hours and hours and hours, had to sleep there. They lost their stuff on the way there. Like just a mess of a travel weekend for them with all the weather delays and stuff coming out of Texas. I'm just at a panic level 0 for New York. I think they're going to bounce right back. It's just odd circumstances and a tough weekend.
I think it'll be good for them. A little reality check for them.
and not just make another run to finals or something. And also, like, they lost to a Minnesota team that looked like one of the best teams in the game this weekend, and then a Thieves team who also looked like one of the better teams. So their two losses were to two teams that finished top 3 also. I like they lost bums. They didn't lose to just like Florida or something.
Good teams overall. Yeah.
Yeah. Then our last losers round 2 match was Boston versus LAG. Another 3-0. It's kind of a theme here for a little bit that we'll mention. Boston versus LAG 3-0. Awakening was the man in the series.
Big wake.
Yeah, and it was, you know, somewhat close maps wise, 250 to 228, 6-4 in the search and 3-2 in the control. But I really never felt at any point in the series that LAG had a chance despite the score lines in the matches. It just seemed like they were outclassed in the series. And like we said earlier with them, time to blow it up.
Yep. Let's see what they do, though. That's the real question.
Yeah. Then we're moving on to, let's go to elimination round 3 quick.
Boston crowd also 2 OP.
Yeah. Boston crowd was turning up for them. That's good to see. I always love that. Seeing that home crowd turn up for the team that they're supporting. You know, usually it's always been OpTic wherever they went, but now when you see a home crowd, they usually are supporting them even over OpTic, which is nice to see. But in elimination round 3, then we had Ultra versus LA Thieves. Thieves come out and 3-0 them. Ultra got hit with a double 3-0 back to back for them. Kind of tough.
Yeah, it was just they got their mental shattered after the Faze series.
And Octane came out dominated in this series. Draws the Envoy. You know, Kenny was the only one that really underperformed, but like he even tweeted like, "Hey, my teammates were just popping off. I was kind of there running around."
Yeah. I want to say a quick tweet from Octane. He said, "GG's Toronto. That's a 10 in the dunk contest alley from Faze." Which is so facts.
Yeah,
so
like
facts.
Ultra was probably just absolutely just lost full from like they got up, they were excited for their winners round 2 match, like take out Faze, like establish themselves. Which I also saw Faze improve to 8-0 on LAN against Ultra. That's ridiculous. Considering how good Ultra has really been over the last 2.5 years. Since like the second half of MW, how good they've been. They've never beaten Faze on LAN. 8-0, that's dominant. But yeah, I agree. This was kind of an assist from Faze, but also like kind of a flaw on Toronto. Like you got to be able to regain. You're gonna have tough losses in tournaments, so you're not gonna just run your way through winners every time. Like you got to be able to regain.
I know. Yeah. Also, I saw some tweets this weekend from Stanley saying, "Who pulled the fire alarm? Or there's a fire in our hotel?" Had
Yeah,
me kind of hollering.
Yeah, it happened like multiple times.
Yeah.
That is some odd stuff, but like, yeah, Toronto. I mean, it's kind of the same thing as New York. Not panicked at all. I still think obviously this is a top tier team. We'll probably see them hanging around at the end of events for basically the entire season. But this just odd. Like you can't be losing composure like that. Maybe that's a maturity factor of a pretty young team. It's got to come into place over the next few weeks. But weird for them to just like lose full like that.
Yeah.
Yet another 3-0 on that Saturday. OpTic 3-0 in Boston to send them home and effectively ends Zinni's career.
It really was.
Yeah, but Nero was the only one that really popped on the side of Boston. Zinni had a rough series on his way out with a 0.75. This was the Shotzzy series. He was kind of running around and having his way. Maybe he got a little bit too much momentum for their loss coming up that we'll talk about.
Yeah.
But overall, Shotzzy 40 and 23, going for that record. This map one was insane though. Dashy.
Ooh, the big kills at the end.
Yeah, he popped off there. This is one of those things again where you just like you got to watch maps. Like you look at this, Dashy went 29 and 36 for the lowest KD on his team. You know, second highest damage. You're like, Dashy, yeah, he had a solid series, but you'd think maybe not the best because overall 0.86, like his worst series in the weekend by far. But oh my god, that hard point, he won the game. He dropped in, got that 2 or 3 piece, and like just making plays. Staying alive on the hill was the big thing. He didn't allow them to just push right away because he was just finessing and staying alive, giving his teammates time to get there. But insane map, and OpTic takes him out 3-0. And we've already talked about Breach.
He hopped over the good old like Nero, little cross him up cheese.
Yeah, and it was an insanely good play, insanely good job. I think the most underrated part of that is him staying alive. Like obviously he picked up the kills that everybody's going to look at, but the fact that he was able to stay alive so long and just not allow Boston to touch the hill while his teammates got there.
I know, literally stay alive, get the kills, and then you just you think he's gonna die to Vivid. He just doesn't. He just kills him somehow. I'm like, what the heck?
Yeah, like insane stuff out of them. Boston, we don't have a lot to say about them losing because we've already kind of talked about it with the Methodz retiring and the roster change thing. But it'll be interesting to see what they do. Obviously, Beans is going to come in. I wonder if they look to make a second change. Vivid has been so inconsistent. As much as I love what he brings to a team with his pacing, maybe getting a more consistent second sub because Nero does seem to pop off more than Vivid and also brings a good pace. Maybe like they go back and beg Cap to come back to them as well. Maybe do like a Cap Nero sub duo with Awakening and Beans. Yeah.
I don't hate that.
Yeah. Could see something like that, definitely, but we'll have to see what Boston does. Then we move on to our top 4 here, I believe. In elimination round 4, we had OpTic and Thieves meet up. This was a very interesting series because Thieves wins at 3-1, but like we mentioned, like so close. OpTic could have 3-0'd in this series.
Yeah, they got definitely 3-0'd.
It was kind of a situation of just trolling maps. Obviously, OpTic wins that map 1, and then they troll the search and destroy. Not necessarily like a full troll, but they did lose round 11. They had a lead in the map. Then the control, Shotzi, they had it basically locked up. He runs forward in that top building on Bagra, past like what we would call like the 50-yard line, like the line you can't cross. For whatever reason, he gets super aggressive. Yeah, he gets killed. Dashy also kind of runs up way too far, gets killed. That allows them to get an opening. They win the offense, and then OpTic ends up losing the map. Just like mistakes you can't have. Like Shotzi, basically, I think he sniffed the blood in the water and wanted to get the win on the board. Just ran out to go get a highlight play instead of just playing smart for the win, and it cost him the map. And in all honesty, probably the series.
Yeah, definitely.
And then even in the hard point, they lose by 7 points? It's like 250 to 243. Because Kenny comes up the ladder for free, just maybe like a breakdown in the comms with how hectic it was getting at the end there. And he just walks up like the one spot you should for sure be watching for free, gets the kill on the hill, they break, and then they win 250 to 243.
Yeah, definitely. These are they're fine though. Yeah,
I mean, and on the side of OpTic, like your first LAN together with that roster, they looked incredible. They could have very easily won this series, no doubt in anybody's mind. So they would have been in a top 3. So I think this team has a lot to look forward to going forward as they gel more and respawns. Search, they already look fantastic, but as they gel more and respawns.
They did get top 4, but they didn't like practice too much, I believe, before. So
no, and like we said, top 3 was easily in the cards, and you never know what could have happened after that.
Yeah.
Then let's jump to winners finals because that obviously happened before losers finals. In winners finals, Faze versus Minnesota. Man, Minnesota had this in the bag. Up 5-3 in game 5, and they lose 3 straight to go down to losers. And then from that point, everybody should have known they were probably going to lose losers finals.
Yeah. You don't just lose that and then come back instantly, basically, to win. Nah.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know. This tournament could have completely changed. If Minnesota wins this, I don't know. I think they might win the tournament.
I definitely think so. I would think Thieves would beat Faze in the elimination finals if that happened. Then
and like crazy how things change. Like that 1-3 round stretch of search and destroy went from us saying Minnesota is probably the favorite to winning it, and Faze gets 3rd to Faze winning it, and Minnesota got 3rd.
Yeah,
like everything flips on its head so much. Minnesota's got to close that out. Overall, though, Faze shows insane composure that we want to see them have. Like, we got a couple people in our comment section that are talking about how Simp and Abezy don't have the ice on Sundays, and I always thought it was just ridiculous. They just had a tough run where they got a lot of second places and some fluky titles, but we know Simp and Abezy can get it done on Sunday. Obviously, Abezy was cooking this whole event. Simp won the MVP. There's a reason these guys are who they are. Cellium had a 1.31 for he had a 1.3 or better for the 5th time in his career. That now breaks his own record of 4, and like I think it's Formal and somebody else have 3 events with 3 plus. Cellium is 5 now. I mean, guys, unreal. They take him out. Insane composure out of them, but they send Minnesota down to our Elam finals where they played Thieves and were 3-0'd. I mean, are you shocked by this one? I wasn't shocked after the way they lost.
I'm definitely not shocked at that. Thieves are cooking, and then Minnesota loses a heartbreaker like that.
And Afro had a really rough series against Thieves in that one.
Yeah, he did.
But overall, I mean, I don't
What the
really like.
Minnesota? Go ahead.
Yeah, it's definitely better than I thought.
Yeah, I would say so, honestly, too.
Definitely better than I thought coming in. Like I did think Minnesota always has the talent to make that run, but yeah, I didn't necessarily think I'd see it this early, and especially against like some of the caliber of teams they were beating. Obviously, on their run, they took out um on New York, they took out an OpTic, and then they should have taken out a Faze, and then they obviously fall to LA Thieves. I'm going to kind of discount that one a little bit because of the way they had lost. I don't think they were maybe fully in it. They probably had lost full, but like, let's say they would have closed that series against Faze like they should have. They probably would have beat like what going into this tournament. We said our top 4 teams are probably what OpTic, Faze, New York, and Toronto.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they would have beaten New York, dominated OpTic 3-0, and then beaten Faze on their way to the finals.
Yeah.
I would say that would be a pretty good overall weekend for Minnesota. Even with the Game 5 round 11 loss, I feel like they've got some good stuff to build off. Though they can't regress. They have to continue to play as well as they did in Respawn this weekend to continue to do this.
It was a great bounce back from Major One.
Oh, 100%. Obviously, no blow it up, as Aches was saying earlier for this team in the year, but I'm excited to see what they do going forward as they got dominated 3-0 by Thieves. Then we move on to the finals. Thieves versus Faze. We both had Faze in the finals, so we were a little bit right there.
Man, if only OpTic would have been.
Yeah, we could have both had that right there, but this was a fun final. It was an entertaining final.
It was.
I think we all know what the turning point of the series was. I think I think I know. I think maybe the series goes differently if that doesn't happen that way, but
Abezy, man.
Yeah, the 1v2 to force a round 11 in that map 5. That was the turning point of the series. To me, from there on out, Faze had it. Obviously, Thieves could have still won the round 11, and that could have changed things. But like Thieves had that one, they had that map 1. They were going to go up 3-2, and I think going into control, even though I know Faze won that control, I feel like Thieves might have won that control, that map 6, had they won the map 5, just because they had been so dominant in control the entire weekend.
They're like the steam ran off towards the end, especially after that Abezy 1v2.
Yeah, and I mean, interestingly enough, I don't believe Faze won a hard point in this final. Won a couple controls and a couple searches.
Yep, you're right.
Yeah, they won map 2, 5, or 2, 4, 5, 6. The 2 and 5 obviously being searches, and the 3 and 6 being controls.
Did they lose a search at all this weekend?
I want to say they lost one, but I can't remember.
They lose one to Minnesota, maybe.
I can't remember, but I believe they lost one. But if they did, it was like one they only lost. It might have.
Yeah.
Because we would have heard about them being undefeated like the LAG team, I believe.
Yeah, you're probably right, actually.
But I can't remember. I think it was only one they lost, though. But anyways, like, crazy series out of them. That obviously was the turning point to me. Was Abezy getting that 1v2, a crazy 1v2 at that. To force round 11, they win that, and they go on. Slasher pops like an 18,000 piece in the final control point. He popped 3. I just don't know how. He literally laid in the same spot, and they kept running out and dying to him. It's not like they were like super rushed on time. They needed to get there, but like they were there and had the touch.
Yeah.
They had to focus on kills. That being LA Thieves, and they just didn't do it. And Slasher just laid there, got the kills. Faze closes it out 4-2. It was a pretty entertaining final, though. A lot of close maps. The map 1 was absurd. I thought the map 1 might have been like, okay, LA Thieves are going to win this because Faze had an absolute breakdown and blew a big lead in that hard point. Choked it.
But overall, good final.
Yeah, it was a really good final. I was very entertained by it, and I did feel like overall, like, it was probably our 2 best teams in the weekend. Like, I would say maybe Minnesota, but like, you got to tip LA Thieves. They were in losers round 1 and made a amazing run to make it to finals. They obviously dominated through control. And like sometimes losers round 1 or losers runs can be fluky because you don't play the best teams. But like looking at Thieves' run, I mean, they obviously played Florida first, but from Florida, they beat New York, a top team. They beat Ultra, a top team. Mind you, they beat both of them 3-0. Then they beat OpTic 3-1, and then they take out Minnesota, another top team, 3-0. So their losers run, if you include the Florida match, they went what? 9-0, 12-1. Yeah, 15-1 map count en route to the finals.
Insane.
Like insane losers run.
Yeah, this team is just they're so good.
They just play so well together. Octane's so good in the comms. It's like,
yeah, I know.
When they hit form, they're a tough team to beat simply because they're probably going to have better comms and just better teamwork than you.
Yeah, they trust each other too since they've been playing for a little bit now.
Yeah, I'm interested to see if they can replicate that. We know they've had some consistency issues, but I would say after seeing them make this run and Kenny maybe not feeling 100% yet, like they're on their way to becoming like that established team. It's like every time they're playing, it's like, yeah, we know they're on the way. Like they're probably going to be really good. They're going to find a way to sneak top 4. Because, that team is very good. And we were reminded of that this weekend again when maybe some of us were starting to forget about them and kind of throw them to the back burner.
Yeah, I would just say is whatever Shane brings to that team, holy shit.
Yeah. Helps them a lot.
Because they're bad and then he came in ever since then. They've been pretty damn good.
100%. Yep. Expecting to see more roster news. So that's basically it for our bracket talk. Expecting to see more roster news throughout the week. I would assume that Florida are not going to be the only team making changes. I would think potentially we could see a second change on Boston in the works. Not guaranteed, but you could potentially see it. I think we could see a London change. You could see an LAG change. So Florida, London, LAG. You could maybe even see a Boston extra change. Maybe looking at some of the other teams, you could see a Vegas change. We could maybe see a Surge change.
Yeah, maybe. But
so the only teams that are safe right now probably are your Minnesota, your OpTic, your Subliners, your Thieves, your Ultra.
Yeah.
I don't think I missed anybody. OpTic, Thieves, Subliners, Rocker, Ultra, Faze, the top 6-ish teams we'd argue they're probably all safe. Other than that, Boston's obviously making a change. Like I would say, like Boston is unlikely to make an extra change, maybe on top of Beans. But the other 5, London, Florida, LAG, Vegas, Surge, all definitely on the chopping block. So next week, if stuff happens, we'll definitely be talking about that.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely gotta look at that team changes. It's that not working out.
Yeah, I mean, so who knows? I mean, next week our plan roughly for the pod is to do our predictions because obviously we have this weekend off from matches, and then the next weekend is matches kick right back off for qualifiers. So our plan roughly is to go into that next week, make our predictions for the weekend, and then do our player tier list following the major that we wanted to do each time, but could lead to a pretty long episode if we also have roster rumors. So maybe we'll figure that out. Maybe we'll do like 2 separate recordings, upload them on separate days, do like the pod with news, roster rumors, roster mania stuff, and match predictions, and do like a separate episode that we upload the next day with like a tier list, something. We'll figure it out, but look out for a tier list next week of the players as well as rumored rosters. It's just sometimes tough too when maybe 6 players are getting dropped to do the tier list with dropped players. It's kind of tough.
Yeah,
we'll have to see. We'll have to see how that kind of plays out, but that's pretty much all we've got for this one. Wanted to cover the news and the bracket, but Brock, you got anything else before we wrap up?
I just want to say that, man, if Simp and Abezy are pulling like that, the league's on notice again.
Yeah, I mean, Simp and Abezy playing like that. Slasher was doing his job in search and destroy. The team looked dominant, and like, is that not the scariest part? Like, they were shaky and hardpoint at times this weekend.
Yeah, if they fixed that, oh my.
They were blowing some hard points. They were, choking some leads. They were looking like shaky like that in hard point. Watch out, because I don't think they're gonna be able to go 10-1 or whatever they were in search every weekend. Like I don't think they'll be able to do that good because like that's unreal. But man, if they're playing like this in search, playing as well as they were in control, but then also you add on the potential of how good their hard point could be. Yeah, you're not wrong. League is on notice with those guys frying like that.
I just want to say it's crazy how a person likes this game better than, let's say, Vanguard changes a team. Feels like
yeah, Abezy.
with Abezy.
Yeah, New motivation for the team potentially too with the roster change.
Yep. Other than that, I got nothing else really.
Yeah, that's going to do it for this one. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you did on the audio platforms, be sure to drop a follow, drop a 5-star review. If you're on YouTube, be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Help us get to that 1,000 subscriber goal before the end of the season. That's really the ultimate goal. And, we're about 90, 92, somewhere in there, subs away from that. So if you guys are watching, listening, and enjoying and not subbed, drop a sub. We'd appreciate it. We'll see you next week with for sure the predictions. We'll have to see how roster rumors go, how settled they are in order to do a tier list of the players. It kind of gets shaky with players going in and out and who we want to include, especially considering there are players we haven't seen. So maybe we'll consider just doing it with all the players that are in. If not a ton of roster changes have been made, we'll just go ahead and go forward with it. But it'll get interesting the more players get swapped out. But yeah, be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoyed. And we will see you next week with another episode. Thanks for watching.